This is the Rushmore Show, where it's all about your top four and nothing more. Man, it is good to be back in the studio, but it is sad that we had to say goodbye to camp. Andy, got to spend a week with you last week. We had Brian on the show on a pre-record, and it did fantastic. Lots of awesome interaction. Andy, are you excited to be home?
I am, but if you didn't catch it, if you follow me on my own personal Facebook social media pages, one of the highlights of my week was getting in a sumo wrestling outfit and jumping off the top rope essentially to hit one of the other kids youth pastors with a chair, WWE style. Tons of fun. Got the intros, hyping the kids up. Unfortunately, Kirk, it was a rebuilding year for our church. It was a rebuilding year when it comes to Camp Champs because we were dead last.
Yeah, we went from first to worst. So we have number one draft pick next year, and
we're in a good spot.
I don't know where we're going with. We'll probably trade for 2 picks, go back in the draft. We need somebody that is excited about JBQ. We need somebody that is also fast. We need some fast people, and yeah, we're coming. We're coming for that championship again.
It's happening. No, see, here's the deal. Yeah, we trade back. We build for the future. We have good raw talent on our team. Just a lot of young stuff happening. So Barry, you just said that. There is footage. There's about a 5 to 6 minute video. It is on my personal page. Maybe I'll share it to the Rushmore.
Yeah, we'll have to throw that down on the Rushmore for everybody to see. Barry, welcome to the show. Spine Ticks is in the house for, man, Sith, I heard you were just on a show with our guest, and now he's on the show. Hey, Retro Rob's here. Let me tell you, Retro Rob has signed up to be on the show in January or February. We're going to figure all that out, but he's coming in for video games. Great content creator. Rob, I'm going to throw you a wrench. You're new here. Let me just give you also welcome to the Summit Squad because this is your first time. Let's break it in. So a part of the Summit Squad, anybody that's here, you're going to follow along with us on our journey. Our journey takes a couple journeys through the presidencies of the Mount Rushmore Mountain, and we're going to talk action cartoons tonight. So our number 4 will be around here soon. You think up what your top 4 is going to be, and as we go, be welcome to throw them in there to help out the crew. We have a great guest tonight. He's a part, I was going to say, of Spine Ticks and a part of the Modern Day Breakfast Club and all those guys. Tiger's in the house. Also from the Hildt family right there. Tiger, welcome to the show. And you guys are welcome to join in with all of the action cartoons. Last week, Andy, we had a blast. We had our friend Brian McCollister on with BK Toys. He's a vendor, and you guys know we do conventions. And at the conventions, we met BK Toys, and he did his top 4 favorite kids meal toys, and that was a fun show. But we also have some really cool stuff coming up. Let me just throw this up here for everybody to see, because this is our schedule. Here it is. So it is, whoop, hey, there you are. So it is next week we, because it's a short video. Next week we have Pelican. He's coming on for discontinued snacks. Then down at the bottom, as you can see, we have our friend Sith. He's coming in on August 26th to do comic books. You can see that on our Instagram if you want to see that. Any SNL fans in the house, you probably love that. And tonight, we're going to do top 4 action cartoons. Andy, you are super busy, so you slow prep. I've got a twist today because we've already done cartoons. Yeah. So I went back and I watched my old one, and I was like, okay, I see where I'm going now. So Andy, hopefully you're ready for this because our guest has a fantastic knowledge of action cartoons. It's one of his favorite things. I join over to his show every once in a while. got a great community over there. Let's get him on the show, ready
do
to
that.
go. Welcome our boy right now. And Action Cartoons, let's get it.
Let's get it, Kirk. Who's coming on today to join the Rushmore?
You know, we're always looking for new friends on YouTube, Instagram creators, and we are consistently growing. We're almost to that 1K mark. And if you're not already subbed, go ahead and sub, man. It's a fun time. The community's great. And while you're out here, chatty chat in the comments. We are going to try and hit 1,000 comments today. That's what I'm chasing.
Wow,
1,000 comments. Had a conversation with Bert. Bert said we can do it. So Bert should be here in a little bit. But let's welcome our guest. Our guest is one of those creators I've come across being in these other amazing communities. Guys, if you're not joining in other communities and you're a creator, you're totally missing out. We've like quadrupled since joining these other friends. And I mean, they're just all over the place. And they're so welcoming. And today we are going to bring on one of our friends, Logan from the Hildt. Yeah, from the Hildt. He is a great creator. And there he is. He's a great creator. He is got a cool little show. He loves AI. Tabletop games is his jam. He does this mix of Dungeons and Dragons and G.I. Joe and desert games and all this other stuff. As you can see, he's rocking the Yo-Jo. Logan, welcome to the show. It's been a while. We've been planning this. Now it is finally your day on the mountain. So tell us a little bit about your channel, Logan. Share with the Summit Squad what you got going on and why people should come and watch it.
Well, I'm Logan, the G.I. Joe gamer, as you can see. Our channel from the Hildt, we do a lot of stuff. We do our role-playing game, Horror Fantasy Adventures. We do those on Monday nights generally, sometimes Sundays, and sometimes we do one-shot games like the Code of the West we did on Independence Day, which was a fantasy western. That was a lot of fun. But Friday nights is our big deal. We do Fridays from the Hildt, and we have a music segment. We have the AI Shorty Short segment, and then we do a topic take, and we have a movie that we generally talk about. We don't generally review it, but we give our opinion, and we look at slides from the movie and remember it as we talk about it. So we have a lot of fun with that. And then every other Thursday, generally, we have what I like to call a radio show, where we have submissions from the community. And we play our music and their music, and it's a lot of fun. It's like having their old radio on, but MTV back is the way I see it.
So what it sounds like to me, Logan, is that you are fond of the word nostalgia, right? Is that
yeah, definitely.
Words? We love it here too. In fact, we have essentially based our whole show on it, and we are now in the 2 months that we call nostalgia months, which is our way of like cheating and just adding more. We can just talk about whatever we want because our whole show's about nostalgia.
Right.
Right. We were briefly talking before, and I think this will make this panel today interesting. That nostalgia isn't necessarily a hard cut like year for everyone. Everyone's nostalgia is different. So I'm more of a like 90s to early 2000s. Certainly appreciate 80s and stuff like that. But 90s and early 2000s was like my bread and butter. I'm growing up, all that kind of stuff. Kirk is more of kind of like the 80s, 90s, right? He's 10 years ahead of me. And then Logan, what would you consider to be your nostalgia?
Most of the 80s, but I do throw a lot of 70s in there and a bit of the 90s too. But
no, very nice, very nice. Well, hey, speaking of nostalgia, a great convention to go to get all of your nostalgia fix. Our buddy over here, Davey, is in the house. Davey Lusko, yes.
Yeah, so look, I need a new flyer, but Davey, this is last year's flyer. This is last year's shirt. We're going to talk a little bit more about that a little later. But guys, if you want to be a part or see a really cool convention down in Morgan City coming this fall, go check out everything that Davey's doing. I want to welcome to the show Uncanny Swag, one of Spine Ticks Bros. one of Logan's bros. They're over there killing it on Saturday nights. Like I always say, whenever Sith jumps in here, they just broke 200,000 on his channel, so much so that he started a whole nother live channel just to keep the chat going, and so he can kind of get his mind together, and I appreciate that so much. I've thrown wrenches out to all you guys. Go ahead and subscribe to everybody in the channel. We love that as part of being the community. If you're new here, welcome. We're about to get the show started. Logan, thank you so much for joining us. You've brought some of your friends, I see, and we're going to talk action cartoons. So this is the way we do it, friends. We rank them by the guys on the mountain, and we have our own system. And number 4, what we like to say, the line in the sand, is Rosie. Stands for Roosevelt. We consider him the 4th best guy on the brick, and he is number 4. So before we get started, Logan, our first round, we all kind of say our criteria, why we would pick these cartoons. So give us your criteria, what you were thinking for your top 4 cartoons, and then we'll jump into your Rosie. So,
well, for my top 4, what I did was I went over, and if I remembered them a lot and I watched them a lot, that's what I considered in my top 4. So if I watched them on a regular basis when they came out on weekdays or even on Saturday, that's the way I ranked them. Is the ones I watched the most and remember the most, and the ones I bought on DVD too. So
yeah,
that's where I'm at with that. It's I don't have a really major criteria. If I love the show, then it was on my list.
And look, last week, if you were here, this is nostalgia months. I said my top 4 nostalgia, or my top 4 criteria is they were nostalgic, and honestly, that's all they really need to be. But sometimes people get a little bent out of shape because they have this feeling that these are the 4 best ever. And it goes a lot to do in sports. We'll be in sports, for all my sports guys out there, we'll be in sports come September and October. And we never agree, obviously, because of where you're from or what team you follow, where you were raised, or what's going on. And we all have our strong opinions. But it's a little different when it comes to cartoons, especially when you're talking about your era. So that's a great that's a great criteria. Logan, Rosie, we're starting. Who is your number 4 on your mountain? And let's get this thing going.
Thundercats.
Whoa!
Thunder!
I mean, how do you go better than that? For me, there are 3 better, but you've got cats from space facing off with mutants, lizards, gorillas. The monkey in. It's a great and fantastic show, and to throw Mumra into that mix makes it even better.
That is amazing. So let me just chat just for a second. I don't have as much firsthand experience nostalgia as many of you probably do with Thundercats. I do love this pick. I've mentioned it several times on the show before. I have an uncle who's about 5 years older than me who was like, he loved the Thundercats. And the only thing I really knew of Thundercats for the longest time was he had almost all of the toys, it felt like. Like he had a chest full of these toys of Panthro and that was always the one that I would gravitate to for whatever reason. I don't know if I don't know what it was, but
Panthro was cool. Snarf.
I didn't watch the show as much, but I do remember, Kirk, I think we had this conversation. I think surprisingly, it didn't last that long, right? Wasn't it a super long running show?
Here's one thing that you're going to see as a running theme, even with mine for sure, is most cartoons you think went forever, and they have 65 or so episodes, but that's one season. Because back in the day, they considered it a 5-day thing, right? And so that's 13 weeks. 5 days, one season is 65 episodes, and some of these didn't even hit that mark because it got canceled. And what you see with Thundercats is it only had a few seasons, if I remember. But I will say this: I went back and watched the whole thing. I love Thundercats. I love the sword of omens. I loved the big castle of it was like a panther, and you could get the big toy
That's
where the
fair, yeah.
things went up and down. I love Jago, the guy that died in the very beginning, which was the dad that kind of handed off.
Yeah.
I loved all those guys. There was a Jaguar guy.
Oh, yeah.
But when I went back and watched, there was so many problems with this show, and I like, I wonder it didn't last. There's a lot of continuity issues.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like bad background stuff. It's like weird. And I watched through most of it. I don't know that I watched all of it. I was watching it with my kids, and it just blasts the past. Love it. I love the toys. I'm going to tell you right now, this is absolutely one of my Benjamins off my mark today. It's not in my top 4, but it absolutely has a warm spot in my heart. I love this. Great pick, Logan. And I know where you're going now. It's kind of seeing where you're at, because I know probably know your fave a little bit. We kind of all do, but we're seeing where you're trending. So that's cool.
I'll be surprised.
Yeah, well, at least on the mountain somewhere. At least on the mountain somewhere.
Also, this was rebooted 2011. They had a reboot of this series.
Yeah, they had a reboot, and it wasn't too bad. It got a lot of flack, though. People got mad at it, which we've talked about this already. Reboots are a whole nother thing. We did a whole show on reboot movies. People hate reboots. They hate new ideas or new writers or new whatever, because it's not their nostalgia or their childhood. But what I will say, like the Star Wars, I'll jump in it and throw this bone out there. Talked about it last week. I talk about it every time Star Wars comes up. I love all the new stuff, not because the new stuff is fantastic and great, but because I can relive it with my kids. And that's my kids' Star Wars. And so when I bring them to ours, it's kind of like, you like this old stuff, like whatever, yeah. And so I don't get all bent out of shape for some of that stuff, unless it's really, really, really bad. And good pick. Good.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. Way to start the mountain.
I just want to acknowledge a lot of people in the chat. Fong's in the house. We got so many of our friends from Bert and from Spine Ticks. Kenneth's back in the house. Tiger, Rook of All, welcome. Hey, if you haven't already, go hit that like for us and that subscribe. We're almost to that 1K. My turn. So talk about criteria. So I went back and I watched my top 4 from a couple years ago. And if you saw on the Instagram post, I told you guys to go watch it, hopefully to give away maybe what I wasn't doing today. And so, Andy, when you go back and look at that, and I went back, I usually go back and review, especially that one, that was pretty old. It was in our first year, and it was in August of that first year. So it was about 7-8 months into this thing. I picked my top 4 favorite cartoons of all time, and all 4 of them were action cartoons. So if I was to do this list again, I would have to give you the same exact list I've already given you. So I'm not going to do that today. Today, I'm going to give you top 4 action cartoons, but I'm going to just put a little spin on it. These are my top 4, what I consider most underrated, right? And so just a little bit off the beaten path, so I don't have to give you my top 4. And I mean, as my friends out here say the top 4, I'll acknowledge at least that it was on my last show. I can tell you that without a shadow of a doubt. My top 4 were beasts back then, and I would consider them my favorites now. So jumping into my Rosie, my line in the sand. This one was hard. I had 3 or 4 wanting to jump in to this spot, and I kind of figured they're going to be available because of where I'm at, possibly for my Benjamins. My number 4, I'm going to go with a cartoon, 1985. One of those one seasons, 65 episodes from Deke. It is. I watched episode 1 and 2 today just to revisit. I'm going with none other than Jace and the Wheeled Warriors. Great action cartoon. If you know anything about the 80s, most of these cartoons were built around toys. Usually the toy line came out first, unless you're one of my others on the Benjamin, which kind of screwed the cartoon. But usually the toys come out first, and then they write a amazing script to go with it. And this was awesome. I love it. many of you, it might not even be considered underrated because it is that good. The music is great. The soundtrack is great. The story is fun. It is very cool. You haven't seen it. It is basically a young boy loses his father in an experiment where a guy's trying to grow food and new vegetables and things, and the experiment goes awry, and these monster guys come out and kind of take over and capture him. And Jace, the young fella, along with all his friends, a Merlin type guy, an Orko type guy, a girl, of course, because you got to do the toys, all have these amazing cars, the Lightning League, to go and fight what they consider Saw Boss and all them. Love this line, one of my favorites. It was on my Benjamins last year or the last time, so I consider it underrated even for me because I love this show. So Jason the Wheel Warriors is going to be my number 4.
Logan's going to have to talk about it because I just put it in the comments. It's so underrated, it's unrated to me. I've literally never heard of it until just now. So.
I watched it when I was younger, when I was a kid. I enjoyed it. Not on that wouldn't even have been on my Benjamin's list, but it was a great show. But they had so many in the 80s. I agree. There are
so many.
Definitely an underrated show.
You're going to nail out a bunch of them. And here's the thing: I'm sure they're all going to be in this list over here, and so we're going to talk about them all day. I figured I'd get some that weren't going to be talked about that need to be talked about.
That's a good pick, though.
Dennis comes in. Wasn't sure anyone was going to pick this one. Glad you did because I've never heard of it.
Love that guy.
Yeah.
Hey, welcome. Dennis, when you coming back on the show?
No, we got to
get you back, man. Dennis is, along with Paul, the reigning champ of host. I think they're tied now, right?
Oh, look.
Or at least one behind.
We got Retro Rewind over on the Twitch side. What's going on?
Yes, Retro Rewind. Welcome back to the show. We're going to talk about him a little later. When we get to the halfway point for our commercial. So yes. Welcome. Everybody go and follow Retro Rewind. He's one of our friends from right up here, Culture Box, right above my head. So, All right, Andy, what's your criteria, buddy?
Okay, my criteria is this. At about 2:30 today, I thought about this cartoon. No, not, I mean, sort of kind of kidding, but also not kidding at the same time. I'm gonna, criteria was I loved these shows. I'm definitely sticking in my wheelhouse of 90s and 2000s. I really tried to do it kind of like you, Kirk, where, we've talked about cartoons so many times to eliminate ones that I've talked about extensively. And I did it to an extent, but there's just certain things I just couldn't do. Like I could not drop these ones. But I will say this first one, I think we have talked, Kirk, about this plenty of times. And no, it is not Quail Man from Doug, although I do love that show. I would not consider Doug an action.
If we could consider Doug an action.
Doug's not an action.
It's there. It's there. Sure.
Yep.
The Quail Man side of it is if they had a spinoff. But I'll say this. This one probably may come as a surprise to some people because I don't think in the show I've really talked about it. It's very well documented how big of a Nickelodeon fan that I am. And I did not often venture away from channel 32 on my dial. I don't know if that was it. I think it was something like that. But I was always on Nickelodeon. But when I did venture, this is not a Nickelodeon show. In fact, none of my shows today are Nickelodeon shows. I would definitely go to Cartoon Network. Cartoon Network was a very close second for me when it came to the cartoon game. And my number 4, my Rosie, when you mix a little sugar and spice and everything nice, but you mix in a little Chemical X, what does that give you? The Powerpuff Girls. Wow. Let me tell you, listen, I know like we think like, oh, that's a girl show. Dude, if you watch this show, it's like super action-packed, super fun. You talk about just one of those super fun shows. They have like great characters that are in that, great other characters, some of the villains and things that are happening there. I'm pulling up my notes and I'm stalling here to give you some of that stuff. But you had Mojo Jojo, Mojo Jojo was awesome. You had like probably one of the most cringy and like awkward and hard to watch villains was called Him. It was like a cross-dressing devil. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was a really, really weird thing that happened there. But one of mine, Fuzzy Lumpkins was on there. You also had the Gangrene Gang was on there. Yeah, I really like the show. This is actually probably my newest show that I have, and it's 1998. So we're all going to go back in time from there. But it is action packed. It's almost like, I don't want to say anime, but it's almost like that style of like kind of like a kung fu, like they're just fighting these bad guys off and everything. A lot of fun music that's happening. The animation is really cool. If you have not watched Powerpuff Girls, which I mean, I think probably most people are at least familiar with it, I would definitely go and check that out. So Powerpuff Girls is starting off my list at the Rosie, and I'm interested to hear what are you guys talking about? What you think?
Well, I'll just say this. I messaged Aaron Brown. We're going back to school in a week. And well, first off, let's address this.
There you go. What do I got?
Mar Hawkman, Slugs and Stales and Puppy Dog Tails. Guess what that gets you? It's not Mojo Jojo.
Mojo Jojo.
Oh. So here's the thing. I messaged Aaron. I'm a teacher, guys. Both Andy and I are teachers and pastors, and I teach elementary. And we're going back to school in 2 weeks, so I have to go to work in 1 week. And I messaged Aaron. And said, "Man, I haven't talked to you all summer. We're on tonight." He said, "I'm going to try and jump in, but here's my top 4." And this was his number 4. Or
nice.
Maybe 3. Yeah.
Always, I got to get this guy on the show.
You and Aaron always are syncing up. You guys, y'all are about the same age and you have the same, personality. So
that. So DC
Powerpuff Girls is not even close.
I know
it's not even.
So
it's on another island. Mountain. It's on a
you talked about how you enjoy a very good narrator. That's another really cool thing about this.
It is good.
Narrated the whole time.
I'm just saying it's good, but it's not my jam.
I know it's not.
My oldest daughter watched this for a little bit. Yeah. So Logan.
One of my boys watched this. It's kind of after my time. I did enjoy it when my kids would watch it. So it's not like I went, ew, not that show. There was somewhere my kids would turn it on. I'd be like, no, you guys ain't watching that. But Powerpuff Girls, I didn't mind that one. That was pretty cool. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it is a great writer, and it was fun and good narrating. I do love this.
It's almost like a pop art style, like kind of minimalist. Like I don't know, it's just like really cool, unique. When you see it, you know what it is. But I just like
it got a little weird following, kind of like My Little Pony and all that. The Bronies, like there's a lot of guys that really do love Powerpuff Girls.
Yeah, this is true.
Not there. I don't think I'm at that.
You're not a brony. You're not a brony guy.
But I will say, out of the 3, if you're going to go Blossom, Bubbles, or Buttercup, I was always Team Buttercup. Give me the rough and tough.
Let me address this. Fong mentioned, cool, I got a wrench. Hey, look, everybody here gets a wrench as long as you're cool. If you're not, we'll take it away and throw you out. And Fong, I love you. We've been cool since the beginning. So we love to do that so that you guys can go and follow everybody and kind of be a part of the community. You are welcome here because y'all welcome us in your channel. So that's really amazing to do that. Dylan in the house, Mr. Dylan Thibodeau.
So glad you can join us for NCAA football.
Also, a lot. He's probably 3rd highest ever been on the show. We need to get you guys back on. Let's get some Ronin Warriors love. Okay. Andy's peeking. All right. So, Logan, we're now to TJ Jazzy Jeff, Thomas Jefferson. Our fun name for TJ is TJ Jazzy Jeff, and he represents number 3 on the mountain. And what is your cartoon that you would throw there as your 3rd favorite cartoon?
Robotech.
Nice.
One of the greatest anime they ever brought to the United States, in my opinion.
Nice.
3 different sagas in 1 season. The middle one not as great as the first 2, but still good. You got it. You've got your Rick Hunter, you got your Roy Fokker, and battling Zentradi that looked human but were giant. It was incredible. Just the first of the three sagas, and then you've got your Invid War to end it off. And the Invid were the most impressive alien I've ever seen in a cartoon.
Nice.
Andy, this is before your time. Are you?
Yeah, you're educating me. I mean, it's kind of like that mech type stuff, like.
Yeah.
All
So here's the
they
thing.
had transforming jets. Yes, it was awesome.
I watched very little of Robotech, and I don't know why. Like, maybe I didn't have the channel, or maybe I don't know. Maybe it was, I don't know what it was. But I had the toys. I had a couple of them. I had the so it was like a white and red robot mech, and his legs like folded in half, like made two type deals. But the Robotech toys were next level. And if you
Veritech
were
had the three modes,
the
Guardian and
that maybe
the
talked
robot.
about today, if you took those potential toys against this, the Robotech's winning all day.
Oh yeah.
And I loved it because I do love another similar anime type cartoon that was on my original list. Okay, so I'm not going to mention that one today. If it comes up, cool. But I will talk about it at the end.
Our friends.
I love Robotech and our buddies over at Culture Box. Right.
I was just going to say it. Yeah.
Right here. Oh, you're going to say it?
I was just going to say Dallas.
He's not a Robotech guy necessarily, but he's a Gundam guy. And and he does a whole channel on Gundam. And he loves he talks about Robotech quite a bit.
Robotech's what led to Gundam.
Hey, all three of them. There he is.
My bro.
Bert's in the house. Welcome, Bert. Bert, I've thrown the challenge out there to get 1,000. See what you can do. What
I don't know how we check. I don't know how we check on the comments. Somebody was asking
you can
earlier.
see that on the other side. This is a good pick, man. I love this pick, Andy. I knew you were going to have that one. The toys were fantastic. Did you have some of the toys, Logan?
I did. I had almost all the action figures. I had Rick. I had Lisa. I did have the Invid glider with the Biroid on top with the Robotech Masters. I had that one, and I had Korg was the Invid I was thinking of. One of the princes of the Invid aliens. It was.
All right, so I had this one. This Rick Hunter Robo Duo.
Oh yeah, yep.
Dude, that thing's like $170. I hate that.
Yeah.
I go to these conventions and I'm like, man, I had that. My mom. So this is most everybody's story, unless you were a super hoarder, and I wish I was, because I still am at one level. When I went to college, I packed all my stuff. I put it in like the attic and in the garage and the closets and whatever, and I came back and it was all gone. My mom threw it all away, and I mean, like, probably $100,000 worth of stuff now. But it's just crazy. I had so many toys, and I love that. Yeah. So I'll jump into mine, and again, let me pull up my notes to make sure which one I grabbed. I love all of these picks. Yeah. All right. So again, this might not be underrated to some, and it might even make the list today, especially you, Logan. You might actually throw this one out there because it was a top one. 1986, one season again, 65 episodes, Rankin and Bass. This is kind of in the Thundercats world. I'm going with Silverhawks. So, dude, love this show. It was probably number 9 or 10 for me in the last show. It didn't make my top 8, but man, I have it. I have all of them. I had the toys. I love the twins. I love the big guys. And then the baddies were amazing. I love the bad guys in this this show. And it had a cool spin. Your spaceships. It's like spaceship cowboys, androids mixed with Thundercats, basically. I mean, like, there's so many cool stuff that happened in the show. And Silverhawks, man. Silverhawks. Great intro song again. Great toys. Great show. 80s is going to win out, man. It's going to win out. So yeah, half human, half machine. The Silverhawks. They fight Limbo. That's his name, Limbo, dude, and he turns to Monstar, and that's crazy. Yeah, the whole gang is awesome.
Barry, I'm with you, man. What are you talking about? You live in a different universe than I do, because
Logan, tell me about Silverhawks.
I know Silverhawks, but it wasn't my jam, dude. I thought it was just a cheap knockoff of Thundercats. I never really watched it.
See, I loved it. I loved it too. I felt it the opposite. I loved Silverhawks more than I loved Thundercats.
It came on at the same time as my number one, so I'll bring that up in a bit. And they were competing, and it's like I was kind of mad at it for a while. I do want to go back and watch it because I want to give it fresh eyes. Because as a kid, it was kind of the enemy for me.
I know the Atlanta Hawks. Very.
Yeah.
Comic Chat Collectibles. Welcome to the show.
It did have a great intro song.
Oh, yes. Yeah, it did have a cool intro. And then you had the guy who played the guitar.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah. I'm going with Silverhawks, man. Again, underrated, so you're not supposed to know him, Andy, because you're not an 80s guy. That's the whole point. Welcome to Kevin Bacon, who's also Bert. 6 Degrees from Kevin Bacon.
He's unleashed the hound.
Have you ever played 6 Degrees from Kevin Bacon? That's awesome.
Oh yeah, that's a super fun game. I
haven't played.
Can we 6 Degrees Kevin Bacon to Silverhawks? How many degrees of separation?
Probably wouldn't take that much because he's 80s, and there's probably at least one.
I think it's got to be. That might be an easy time.
Yeah. Oh my man! So look, hold on, time out. Man, Marhawk, man. There it is. So your Robotech, Logan, is my Voltron.
Yep,
so
I get you.
Voltron was number 2 on my list on the original or number 3 on the list on the original cartoon. So yeah, 100%. Voltron was one of those 4. I love Voltron, bro. I love it. It's so awesome. That was my Robotech, Gundam, whatever. So, man, so many new folks in the chat. Let me give them this before you go, Andy. Welcome to the Summit Squad. So let me catch you up. If you're a part of the Summit Squad, that just means you're welcome to the community. I'll hand you a wrench, follow along with us, and drop your top 4 as we go. We're in number 3 right now, which is our second pick. We have 2 more picks. Everybody has 2 more picks, and Andy has a third. And then we're going to do some honorable mentions. So if you're here, welcome. I don't know how you found us. Shoot that in the comments in the bottom. If you're part of Spine Ticks or Bert's channel, Modern Day Breakfast Club, welcome to the family. We're part of the family. We love you guys. And we'll talk a little later about that stuff. But, Andy, you are up, bro. What is your number 3?
So I think that when it comes to, and I said this, I didn't pick any Nickelodeon today because, honestly, I think that Nickelodeon probably slipped on the action cartoon side of things. There are some I could probably consider action cartoons on Nickelodeon, at least in my time, but I definitely don't go there. But here is the network that I go to for action cartoons. On Saturday mornings, go no further than Fox Kids. Fox Kids was where it was at, right? I mean, that was just, there was every one of the cartoons they had on there was action cartoons, right? So you could
don't name the right ones, I'm going to be mad.
Well, I won't. And that's okay. But you're naming ones I've literally never heard of, so we're good here. But this one was 1994. Ran for 3 seasons, 36 episodes, so not very long. It's actually had 2 reboots since the original one came out. It's a super fun one. Became a comic book. Well, I think it was actually maybe it was originated. The comic book came out in 1986, and then they created this show based off of that. I'm gonna go with just action / comedy that you can mix and throw into one thing. Give it to me in the form of Spoon the Tick. I'm going with the Tick. It was a fun show. If you like satire, it was kind of poking fun at the whole superhero thing. It was just this goofy deal, and the whole thing was this big shtick about like it just being this satire. But what's fun is that the Tick was actually voiced by Townsend Coleman, who actually voiced Michelangelo in the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So there you got a little bit of trivia thrown in there as well. But
Which
yeah,
should be mentioned today as well.
Yeah, but this was just a fun show. I remember having the action figures. Now, I've shared this on the show before. I would go to, and Line Takes, you're here, Sith Lord, you're here. Your show that we're going to do, I might struggle with the most because I was never a comic book guy. Not because like I don't like comic. I mean, I literally never was like, I want to go read a book. I mean, I know it's different than a book, but I would go to the comic book shops, and I specifically remember this one right down from my house. And I would go in there and I would just get the action figures. Like I was always like, let me grab the action figures out of there. Yeah, video game too. There you go. But I remember having Tick action figures in my house. Super fun. They had the chairman, what's his name? Chairman Chippendale, who literally has a chair as a face. Yeah, he's just a fun character. American Made, there you go. That was one that was in there. But yeah, this I don't know, like this was a fun show. I know we're just talking about the cartoon, but like the remake, the live action was actually pretty funny too. That was a good one. I thought it was a decent stab at it too, but it's kind of become a cult following. It's just had a ton of fun stuff. So I'm gonna go with the Tick for my TJ Jazzy Jeff.
Barry Barry is one of my favorite commenters. I mean, like, he's killing me. Send me the Lakers, make some awesome starters. Justice League, X-Men, Wildcats. Oh, bro, don't give them all away yet. Don't give them all away yet. But, man, there's some good ones. There are some good ones. All right, so that's excellent pick. I love the Tick.
Yep.
The Tick brings not just action but also comedy. It's very slapstick, very well written. And there's some like The Boys and Invincible. I'd be willing to say those new shows that are really catching fire really stole a lot from like the Tick, right? Because it's like that action hero that's not supposed to be an action hero, but like there's just all these different things. I love this pick. It reminds me of a show which is not even where on my list. It just reminded me. The Tick is actually on my list. It was a Benjamin. But Banana Man. Do you remember Banana Man? Dude, it was like a short in the 80s. Like it just came like during commercials, and then it made like a bit of a cartoon. But it wasn't like long standing. You always saw these little clips of it. And it kind of reminds me of like the precursor to the Tick. Great pick, man. And it's so funny. And what's the guy? The guy, he's in like everything as a voice. Who's the Tick's voice?
Patrick Warburton.
Patrick Warburton. Bro,
Yes.
That's enough to pick alone.
Oh,
bro.
yeah.
Kronk. And he's in so much, bro.
The live action. Yeah.
Yes, the live action, yes.
He's the Tick.
Yeah.
He's just like, he's great. Yeah.
He's so awesome. I love that guy in the live action. Good pick. Yeah, X-Men, Spy versus Spy, Ninja Turtles, Batman. Yeah, those are all great picks.
The Tick had me from the moment the guy said, "Hey, you're a Tick. Tick suck blood. I don't see you sucking blood." And he said, "Give me a straw and I'll demonstrate." I was a fan from that moment on.
So much, like it's so witty, and that we've talked about that.
Yeah, it's well written. It is well
Definitely.
written.
When I say well written, it means it's witty. Like somebody's back there going, not everybody's going to get this joke, but the people that do are going to love it, right? And that's kind of how it was written. Oh, more good ones coming out. Tiger's on fire. Tiger, how many are you going to name? 100? I love it. So
she loves the action cartoons too.
I love it too, man. I love it too. Hey, so let's jump into.
That's a good one, Tiger. I just saw your last one. I'm not putting it up there.
Yeah. And that's
It's
why
a
I'm not
good
mentioning
one.
it, because I'm pretty sure we'll talk about it after this commercial break. So, hey, listen, it is time for our commercial. And listen, we have 18 folks in here. Hopefully this doesn't make all you guys disappear, but we always like to focus on our friends a little bit here in the middle. And very first and foremost, our number one thing that we want to focus on is the fact that we are both called into ministry. So where your spirituality lies, Andy and I are both ministers and both pastors and both teachers in the elementary school system and both coaches, both parents. We're very similar in personality, but we're just born a couple years apart. So that's why our top fours make a change. But here's the thing: we have been invited, and we are so blessed. If Davey's still here, we have been invited to several different conventions. And at these conventions, we have been asked to not only MC them, walk around, interview people, and give us their top fours of what they're doing, talk about their booth. But here's the thing: we're pastors, so we asked, and they obliged. They said, "Hey, a lot of these folks come to your thing on Sunday and don't get an opportunity to go and visit their church. And would you mind if we did a nerd church service here at the convention?" And those guys all said, absolutely. So we just wanted to show you guys a little bit of that real quick.
Prepare to make the jump to light speed.
What's up? They're getting closer.
Oh, yeah? Watch this.
All right, so our ministry is called Reboot. If you're a Christian, you believe that you have to be reborn. So we call it Reboot. And all we're doing is talking nerdy church. I'm wearing my 5 Nights at Freddy's because that was the guests that were at the last convention. And our message was on 5 Nights at Freddy's, if you could ever believe that. Just put one out on our page on Inside Out 2. And Andy's got one, I think, coming on If. I got one that's coming out for the Acolyte. If you are looking for a church or whatever, you just don't know where you fit in, you can hang out here. You can ask questions. You can send us prayer requests. With that being said, we have a bunch of friends that are Christian creators. And these guys do things like Dungeons and Dragons. They play video games. They read books. They do Gundam. And it's amazing. And it's these guys right here called the Culture Box. Andy, I would love to highlight one of our besties over at Culture Box. Which commercial are you ready for today?
Well, hey, let's chat about our friends. Hey, he was in here just a minute ago. I don't know if he's still here, but we have some good friends who kind of got this whole thing with Culture Box off the ground. So let's chat about our good friends over at the Retro Rewind podcast.
Every other week, join the Retro Rewind Pod as they travel back 15 or more years along the entertainment space-time continuum in their mission to review movies and games, establishing what is still worth your time today. Expect fun banter and trivial insights from Francisco, Paul, and rotating guest hosts who are all out of time.
There you go. There's our friends over at Retro Rewind. Make sure you go check them out. Go to the website. Listen to all their stuff. They're awesome, awesome fellas over there. And let them know, hey, the Rushmore Show.
And just let him know how much you love Monty Python. Just share that with us.
Well, somebody has to. Somebody has to.
He hates it. He hates
it. Tell him. You know what? When you go there, tell him how much you love the Muppets Christmas Carol. Please let him know how much that's better than Charles Day. It is
inside joke. We did specials for Christmas, and Andy's favorite is Muppets, and he got a lot of flack for it. So, anyways, we're going to jump into our second half. 18 of you hanging around. What are your top 2? That's where we're going. Number 2, number 1, and we got some honorable mentions at the end. Logan, you're up. What is your second favorite cartoon in the action genre of all time?
Oh, my Lincoln might surprise you. It's G.I. Joe.
Yo, Joe!
You had the coolest enemies ever. You had Cobra and Cobra Commander with that voice. He could just Cobra, and it's hard to watch G.I. Joe. And once I got stuck into it, I got into the comics, I got into the figures, and I've just been a lifetime fan. G.I. Joe was my jam. That's for sure.
I mean, here's the thing. If I was giving you top 4, we're crushing right here because G.I. Joe was my number 2. Voltron was my number 3, already mentioned. I'm pretty sure Andy's going to mention my number 4. And I can tell you in the chat, my number 1 has already been mentioned. So they're all there, I think. G.I. Joe, fantastic. G.I. Joe was one of my favorite toys of all time. It was one of my favorite cartoons of all time. I've got all of them on DVD. I haven't watched them in a while, but I have watched them with my son. I love this line. It's one of those ones, toys, cartoon, they just marry well together. You always had a new guy show up, whether it was Alltime or Roadblock or whoever it is. Those aren't new guys though. Those are like staple guys. But you'll have like a new fella show up, like a dreadnought or something, some weird, and you're like, oh, I gotta go get that toy. And immediately, like in like 3 weeks or whatever, the blister pack is on the shelf. And it's like, boom, look at this. My favorite thing, I mentioned it last time about G.I. Joe, was all the accessories. Like this was our Barbie. I'm serious, but all the accessories were cool. You got cool weapons, but you got cool animals as well. So you had like Mutt and all the parrot and the crocodile for Crocmaster. You had all that stuff. This is one of those things that absolutely, and the comic books still are really dope. And Cobra Commander, I remember. Also, here's another thing, Andy. I know this is before your time, but this was like the very first mail-in toys I can remember. I mailed in for the fridge. I mailed in for. I hope you have a video ready. Andy, do you have a video ready? I mailed in for that.
I do have a video ready, but I did want to warn everyone in the world, if you're listening to this on headphones, this is your warning. This is your warning. If you have headphones in, 3, 2, 1.
Sergeant Slaughter, ID number 199-20017. Attention, maggots. This is Sergeant Slaughter from the WWE and G.I. Joe, the real American hero. And you're watching the Rushmore Show. This is the top 4 and nothing more. And that's an order.
There we go. I just wanted to show a little of it there. But yeah, we got to meet Sergeant Slaughter at the last con we were at. Man, he was just amazing, right? Just an amazing guy. Actually put your son in the Cobra in the clutch, right?
Sweet.
Yeah, so he Cobra clutched my son, and he got a like a coin because of it. And then he signed both mine and his pops, his Funko Pops. So we have the wrestling one and we have the G.I. Joe one. Let me just say, I knew this was going to be on your mountain somewhere. I'm anxious to see what your George is, your number 1. I have some ideas that might be bouncing around because of what era you're living in and where you're at. So maybe, but I love this pick. Andy, I know you love this pick even though it's before your era.
Yeah. No, so, but I love this stuff. I'm not going to put it on my list. I think it's great. I love the following. Obviously, G.I. Joe, like we talk, this just crosses so many different genres. We talk toy lines, we talk cartoons, we talk, whatever. We want to talk all these different things, and it's gonna make one of those things. Yeah, it made Kirk look like a baby.
He's like 80.
A huge man. He's so
like 77 or something. He was huge, and he was like hunched over, and he was still like towering us.
Massive. I mean, he's a WWE wrestler, right? WWF wrestler, whatever. But yeah, this is a great pick. Speaking of that con too, I know that was like a big deal because our good friend Ben Robert is a big G.I. Joe guy. I mean, that's kind of like what they sell at their table, right? Is their G.I. Joe. And actually, Kirk, one time when you're down here, we're gonna have to go to Ben and Sarah's house because they have a room with just collectibles that are set up in there, and it's like a museum. It's wild.
So we'll mention it at the end if anybody disappears. This is last year's St. Tammany Collectors Con, and our buddies from church, this is how we got into the whole convention game. Our buddies at church run this convention and have started it from a hotel room, and that's the biggest convention on the North Shore in Louisiana. It's a toy and comic thing, and Ben is huge G.I. Joe fan. He's the biggest collection I've ever seen in person. I've seen tons online and whatever. But when I go there, I'm like, man, I get sad when I see like their booth because I'm like, I had it. I had that toy. I had that car. I mean, the only thing I think I didn't have was the aircraft carrier, but my parents wouldn't buy me that. But I mean, so many toys.
Still hard to
Yeah,
come by the aircraft carrier.
what's that?
Still hard to come by the aircraft carrier, the flag.
Yeah. It's hard to find. Yeah. I seen there was one at the convention in a box.
Yeah.
Sweet.
In a box. Yeah,
It's
and it was up
impressive.
on the very top. It was like his backdrop. I was like, "Is it in there?" He's like, "Yes, it is." And I was like, "That's crazy. That's crazy." So
Probably sets you back a year's pay.
Yeah, I'm sure.
well, look, I'm gonna jump into mine.
Sure.
No one had the aircraft carrier. Yeah, I mean, like they used it for a coffee table. Yeah, it's huge. It's like 6 foot. You can ride like surf on it. So listen, I'm going with underrated again. You've already mentioned most of my favorites over there. 3 out of 4 so far have been talked about. But when I talk about underrated, these are ones that just didn't get enough love, and they were amazing. This one here was one of the ones that the toys were kind of coming out at the same time as the cartoon, and it is widely considered probably one of the rarest toys to find. I follow a guy on Instagram. His name is Master Turtle Hunter, I think maybe, but he did his own line of these and printed them out on 3D print because they're so rare, and he's actually trying to get them to give him the rights, but they won't, of course. But all right, so 1987, 1 season, 65 episodes. Deke. This one ran, if I remember, it ran on a weird channel like UHF or something like that. But I'm going with Dinosaurs. And
Okay.
is one of my favorites. Another fantastic 80s intro song. It is very much like my George that I'm about to give. It's very similar style. But this is cool. It's anthropomorphic, sentient dinosaurs that are fighting the Tyrannos and Tyrannos. That's what it is, Tyrannos. And it's just bad dinosaurs, good dinosaurs. And just like Transformers or some of the other ones, like they land and Earthlings help the good guys against the bad guys. And it didn't run long enough. It was on a weird channel. I remember finding it. It was like 8 o'clock at night. But the toys are impossible to find. If you find them, they're outrageously expensive. Just a really cool line of toys. But yeah, dinosaurs.
So the first one you've mentioned that I actually know. So
It's the first one you mentioned I don't know.
yeah.
Dinosaurs.
I just put it in my ear because I wanted to be reminded of that theme song. Just imagine being that guy in the studio. Like, all right, here we go. Dinosaurs. Like, why'd you hit that so hard?
Yeah, the intro song. If you don't know the intro song, matter of fact, hold on. I have the intro song right here. Hold on.
Oh my god.
I have it right here. Let me give me 2 seconds.
Yeah. I mean, he hit that he hit that note like he had bills to pay. You know what I mean? Like this was not just a side gig. He had a lot riding on it for sure. Yeah. Dinosaurs is fantastic. We've talked about this before though on one show at some point. We have talked about it. I'll pull it up right here. We have to go through our little commercial first. Oh.
3, 2, come on, commercial. The suspense is killing us. All right. Oh,
Kirk, you're joining. I see what you're doing. Here we go. Oh, there's no volume.
Can y'all hear it?
No, I hear nothing.
Well, it's on mute. I'll start it over.
No sound.
All right, ready? It's on mute. What? want to.
This is quality TV right now.
All right.
Us figuring out. Tell me a
It's
little bit.
muted, and it won't let me turn it up because this thing's in the way.
It's a copyright.
Oh,
those
man.
people from
Anyway,
Dinosaurs.
that's it.
You're just gonna have to believe us when we say
Yeah.
that it is a fantastic theme song. It's a
Oh,
fantastic-
I'm remembering this now that I'm seeing it. And
yeah.
it wasn't one I watched though.
There was something in the 80s that like
Oh, there we go.
oh, there
Here
it
we go.
is.
Here we go.
Used to be 4 ordinary teenagers until one day we met some new friends from out of town. They were called Dinosaurs. My friends and I became the secret scouts, allies to these dinosaurs from outer space.
Yeah, we won't go too much because we'll probably get copyrighted.
He sounds like the guy who's doing the gosh, what was the Crossfire? You get caught up in the oh, I love it.
Crossfire.
Yeah. Yeah, let's come back here. Here we go. There we go. Now we're away from
So
that.
yeah, Saucers, cool show.
Fun pick,
One of the
man.
reasons I think it was underrated, not only was it canceled early, but it was, and it's later in the 80s, right? It was on a weird channel. It was on like, I remember having to go find it late in the numbers, and it was late in the day, and I was like, why is it not like a Saturday morning thing? Because it was cool. Very Captain Planet, very kind of like that style. But yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, Tiger said the rings remind me of Captain Planet. So yeah, that's there.
Yeah.
I mean, it was cool
Yeah.
animation. Like I like the it was like I was getting to say that like the 80s, like we were really obsessed with like making animals humans. Like that was I remember like the
You know
whole
what? Maybe that's
series of-
why I want my book to be like that. As I was going through this, I'm like, gosh, all the cartoons I love were anthropomorphic, sentient animals, and like,
Yeah. Well, and then also like I remember the book series Animorphs. Now that was the 80s, that was like 90s.
That's a freaky book. That's a freaky book series. I remember as a kid.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, that's a fun pick, man. Yeah.
So,
All right.
man, 22 folks in here. Go hit the go
Woo.
spam that like, hit the subscribe. Bro, we got a lot of new friends hanging out. Hope you're enjoying it. We are at Andy's link, and we're almost to the end. Stay with us. Stay with us. Andy,
Hey,
where you at?
Spine. He just said he mentioned the Robertsons from Duck Dynasty. That's from Louisiana. I mean, that's North Louisiana. That's like Southern Arkansas.
So
but it
we're
was
in the
definitely-
toe of the boot.
Yeah.
They're up at the top of the boot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, they're cool. They're cool.
If you've ever watched
Everybody goes over there to see
series,
this stuff.
if you ever watched the series Swamp People, that's a little bit more closer to the people that are around
Now,
us.
Swamp People is close, and my wife's stepbrother was on that show.
Yeah, yeah. So we have there's some kin for sure in that. Anyway, let me get to my pick. As cool as Dinosaurs' theme song was, and as much as I just hyped it up, there's not a cooler theme song when it comes to any kind of cartoon other than this one. This is the one that I was like, yeah. My next two, I've mentioned these before, but I don't even care because they're just so good. And I'm gonna go with X-Men, the animated series.
There it is.
It is the best one out there.
And no words.
Listen, and here's the thing, and I love X-Men 97. I think it was fantastic. But I'm not going to mention that today because we're in nostalgia month, and nostalgia can't be like 2 months ago, right? So I guess it could be. I guess nostalgia is relative, but whatever. X-Men, man, is where it is at. I loved the show. I watched it tremendously. I mean, of course, Gambit, just speaking of being from South Louisiana, Gambit was always my guy. It kind of felt like you related to him. Wolverine's also awesome. We've talked about how I love the villains, Sabretooth, Juggernaut, Magneto, Nightcrawler. I mean, like all of these guys, the sheer amount of characters that you have in this show is just overwhelming, right? And some of them you have that come in an episode or two, which I love is what they've done with the 97. They've introduced a lot of people, but they're just going to continue to do that. The theme song, like I said, total, it's 5 seasons, total of 76 episodes. I do know that the one thing that, and I think you kind of talked about this with Thundercats, that is sometimes a knock on a lot of these older cartoons is the continuity, right? Is like between episode to episode, you're like, wait a minute, he's perfectly fine now, that kind of stuff. I get it. As a kid, I'm watching it. I was not picking up on that. That's me as an adult kind of looking back at things. It was freaking cool, man. Like that was where it was at. Just so many great characters. Rogue, we're talking about Storm, Jean Grey, just so many awesome things. But X-Men, when it comes down to this, if I'm gonna pick, like, I don't watch all of the and let me hear me out here. I'm so far behind on like the MCU. It's just not even funny. Like I feel like I don't have time left to just catch up because there's just so many movies that I haven't watched. I never was a big superhero movie fan. I don't know. Like they're okay. But I will tell you, when something X-Men comes out, I'm watching it. I love this. I love all things X-Men. And it started back at the original animated series. Kirk, actually, I was just at your house not that long ago. We were talking about the old X-Men cards that used to collect those things. The action figures used to collect those. Everything but the comics. I just was never a comic guy. I don't know why. That's just never been a thing. But I love X-Men. When you say 90s superhero, I can't go past X-Men for me. And yes, Jubilee. I will say 97 has made Jubilee a better character, but she just shoots fireworks, right? I mean, like that's what she does, right? But she was definitely useless in the original animated series. I'll just say that. But anyway, Nightcrawler's fantastic. You get a priest there, German priest / son of. Anyways,
both of those guys are two of my favorite. Gambit's way up there. If I had a top 4 X-Men, I don't know that I could do that. I know Uncanny Swag was in here. That's his jam. Earlier, when you go to Spine Tick's show, they always show like comics, and if there's ever an X-Men, that one's his. But I knew you were going to have this. So with that being said, this would have been my Crushmore on my last list at number 4. So this is my 4. So we have 4, 3, and 2. The only one that hasn't been mentioned audibly, but was in the comments, is my number 1. I love this. And you did a devotion on X-Men 97, Andy, which was on episode 5. I won't give it away. If you haven't seen X-Men 97, X-Men episode 5.
Yes.
X-Men 5 was a heartbreaker for a lot of us. And he has a message in our Devos about it. Go check that out. But with that being said, man, Gambit is the GOAT, bro. He's the Cajun. If you're from Louisiana, you have to. It's like mandatory to love Gambit. And the movies never really did him justice.
Team Cyclops or Wolverine, I do want to mention this. I will say, I'm not going to willing to say that I'm Team Cyclops if that's my 2 choices, but I do want to say I believe Cyclops is hated on way more than he should.
I will say this.
I don't think he's hated on
nothing. If you would ask me at 12, I would say Wolverine. You ask me now, it's at least a thought to give it to Cyclops.
Nightcrawler for me.
Oh, well, yeah. If you're going to throw
out of those two. Cyclops is very underrated. He's so strong, dude. He's kind of like the Flash, man. He just, every episode, every comic gets stronger and stronger.
That's true.
But, yeah, Cyclops is crazy. Nightcrawler is cool, though. Gosh, I love Nightcrawler.
Yeah.
Yeah, Nightcrawler is fantastic.
Oh, look, Retro's got the thinking face. So Francisco, who is it? Who's your pick? I'm only assuming you're going Cyclops because you love to stir you love to stir the pot. Of course. He never is mainstream. He's never mainstream. Never mainstream. Yeah. Well, this is a great pick. Now we're down to the George. Logan, number 1 pick. Who is your number 1 of all time? There's really only one answer, but we'll see if you got it right. Who's your number 1 cartoon?
I got it right. The most underrated cartoon of all time, way ahead of its time. It had the coolest music, had the coolest intro. I love the X-Men intro, but yeah, you got to give it up for the Adventures of the Galaxy Rangers. And if you haven't seen this, it's G.I. Joe in space with superpowers. It is X-Men,
Really
G.I.
cool.
Joe, Star Wars. It's all rolled into one. This is Firefly with aliens. Okay, this is some badass stuff. Galaxy Rangers. You had Captain Zachary Fox. You had Lieutenant Shane Gooseman, who could basically do anything. You had Nico, who was like a psychic, and Doc, who did all these really cool things with computers. This was my jam. 1986 is when this came out. One season, 65 episodes, really cool. And I got it as two set. But
What is the name of this one? I missed it when you
the
said
Adventures of the Galaxy Rangers.
Yeah, dude.
And they had to activate their powers with their badges, and they had to charge up. It was
like,
really cool.
They're
Never
like
heard of her.
Western space cops.
But it's definitely worth a watch if you like sci-fi
No.
and Firefly stuff like that.
Yeah, I'll definitely check it. I mean, is there a way to watch this?
I don't know. I know that somebody put it out online.
Legally?
I don't know if it's legal, but yeah, I think you can watch it on YouTube.
Yeah.
But these are also available on Amazon.
Not foreign
Never
website.
seen it on Blu-ray.
Look, Stiff's in here bashing on Acolyte. I'll tell you, I have no hatred against Acolyte, so I loved it. But
yeah, I like Alkali too.
yeah, I loved it, but it's getting a lot of flack. But
I like
dude,
Star Wars
I
that
love this
people aren't-
pick. This is absolutely a Benjamin for me.
Yeah.
It was one of those underrated ones that I'm looking at because it doesn't get enough love.
No, definitely not.
You know, and there's still some big heavy hitters, even from the 80s, that are out there that are still available.
It's hard to find who owns the rights to it. I've looked it up, and it's like a hotel, and they don't have an entertainment department anymore. It's like, well, how do I get the rights to like make new ones or do something with it? Nobody knows. Nobody knows. It's weird. It's one of those companies that died and it's owned by somebody else. And you'll find Star Wars fan in here. Yes.
One day you'll find one. I'll say this: I like a lot of things that we've said this many times, and I won't go too long on this, but some of the most annoying fans are Star Wars fans because of the purity, like the purist, like all that stuff, and whatever. And
we talked about that when we talked Jedi.
We did. We did. But in anybody who's like extreme fanatic of something is usually going to be
Star Wars is way up there because of how it was sold and bought and all the things that have changed.
There's so many things that
and
like
Retro Rewind podcast is Disney's favorite fan as well. That's another thing he loves. But I will say this: you don't have to go far to find another fandom of weirdos that you just hate. I mean, even X-Men, right?
Yeah.
There's so many people that have their idea of what the writers should have done or should have went this direction, and they're stomping their little.
I liked Andor. I liked it, and people are like, it's so slow, it's whatever. I thought it was.
Andor was slow, but it was good.
It was slow. That last scene though makes the whole show worth it. Like everything, but it was just done so well. Yeah, Anyway,
and look, hot take here. Hot take, Dylan. I agree. If you watch the finale of Acolyte, the finale fight is one of the best fights I've ever seen.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. Anyways, awesome pick, Galaxy Rangers. I love this. It has all the things you'd want, right?
Yep.
With an action, you got space, you got Western, you got cops, you got. I mean, it's there.
You had villains that were just over the top too. It was just really cool.
I'm team last good Star Wars was Rogue One. Hey, I will say this: last great Star Wars probably was Rogue One, but there was a bunch of other good. With that being said, I'll jump into my number one. This is my number one from the beginning when I switched the idea that I wasn't going to do my top four, but I was going to do the top four underrated. This one was on my Benjamins last year or last time we did this because I love it so much. I love the toys. For all our younger folks, I won't mention the main story because there are some younger folks that watch this, but I'll just say.
Oh, the suspense. Kirk is frozen. What's happening?
Moment frozen in time.
He's frozen.
I'll say this. I'm sorry. I was freezing. I'm going to go with my guys, Mask. And, Mobile Armored Strike Command is what it stands for. 1985, 1986, 2 seasons, 75. Another one from Deep. you're following Matt Tracker, and very much like Dinosaurs, you have a kid who has a robot, and he rides it on a scooter, and all that kind of jazz. It was like the secret sauce for the 80s was have this, have that, and all these different things. But you had the good guys, which was led by Matt Tracker, which was masked, and they all had masks, obviously, but they had like transforming cars and trucks. And I got the 18-wheeler Matt Trackers for Christmas one year, and I had all the toys. I had all of them. It was one of my favorite. I've watched this cartoon recently through and through. It is fantastic. It is great. It is all 80s. The intro is nothing but 80s. Like you can't get a more 80s intro than Mask. And of course, they were fighting Venom, which were the bad guys. Helicopter. The thing is, like the trucks transform from one vehicle to another vehicle. So the helicopter, the motorcycle turned into a helicopter. The four-wheeler truck turned into a boat. The 18-wheeler turned into a mobile command. It was just kind of like Transformers-ish, and I love this, dude. It is one of my favorites. Every time I go to the convention, I feel like I need to buy the 18-wheeler. Every time I see it, Andy, at STCC, I'm like, I'm gonna buy it, and then I see the price, and I say, I don't need it that bad. And I get it right back. Mask is my George for sure. Command with a K. Yep, absolutely, for sure. Mobile Armored Strike Command.
Yeah, we can just spell things wrong if it makes more
Can't
sense.
hate on Mask. Later on, they integrated it as a sub team of G.I. Joe. So I'm right there with you. I loved it.
Which it's amazing to me.
I did not watch this, but I know I've heard of it. Obviously, there's a lot of nostalgia to this. Francisco's asking, did one of you guys say Centurions already?
No.
Not yet.
Yeah, not there.
Good show.
No, yeah, but it's a great show. I actually watched a video on that today to remind me of some of the parts, and it's on my Benjamins, but I don't think it's going to even get mentioned today. Not with me, but it's a great show.
All right. Yeah. Well, Mask, fun stuff. I guess I'm going to go for my George now. The last one on the list here before we get into Benjamins. Kirk, I could probably give you two guesses, and you'd maybe get it on the first guess here. What my number one's going to be. I talk about this extensively a lot, especially the action figure line. But
Can
for
I
sure,
say it?
It is definitely my George. And Kirk, what am I picking for my George today?
Gargoyles?
No, it's not gargoyles. Oh, you have to take a second guess. I'm going Street Sharks.
Street Sharks.
Street Sharks was where it was at. It's totally a ripoff of the Turtles, and I get it. But it was kind of a spinoff, not really even technically a spinoff.
Dang, I should have known Street Sharks.
1994, they come out. You got Ripster, Jab, Streaks, and Big Slamoo. Then you've got the Whale, which was Moby Lick, right? That was awesome, right? You got Dr. Paradigm, who takes these 4 teenage boys, injects them with this serum, and they become these anthropomorphic shark guys. Big Slamoo was always my guy. He was the linebacker football player, and when he was like the big the giant whale shark was where it was at. Jawsome was the tagline. Shark Attack, dude. 40 seasons, 40 episodes over 3 seasons. They had a spinoff that was actually, if you remember, called Dino Vengers. Later it became Extreme Dinosaurs. Was a spinoff of like in the 3rd season of Street Sharks here. But dude, obviously the show was super fun. I loved the show. It was crime fighting anthropomorphic sharks, right? Is basically what it was. But on top of that, as the bonus, you throw in that line of toys there, and it was so good. Vin Diesel in the classic commercial for these things was amazing. But I do, looking back, like my parents were pretty well off, I guess, if they bought these things for me, because these even back then were pretty expensive. Looking back at what the prices were, but 40 seasons. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Street Sharks, man, as my number one. I talked about it last week as a Benjamin. Burger King actually had a line of toys.
I thought of Street Sharks earlier today, but just like a little bit ago going through my list, I was like, oh, he hasn't said gargoyles yet. and I'm like, I was waiting, but you threw me for a loop. So I'm sure. Hey, I'm just going to share it. Logan, if you want gargoyles, you better take it because it's going probably first pick for him. I can't believe it's still available.
It was tough. It was tough to leave it out. I know.
Yeah, gargoyles is awesome. Hey, so Street Sharks, love this. But you mentioned Ninja Turtles. I couldn't mention that because it's not underrated, and it was number 5 of my list. The last time I did this, I almost kind of tried to figure it out. I love all the iterations of the Ninja Turtles, but like, let's just pause. Ninja Turtles is always what we say the staple is, and like everything stole from it. But to be honest, Ninja Turtles stole as well. So like, you've got the Tiger Sharks, you've got the Street Sharks, you've got Ninja Turtles. Wait a minute, you've got Jabberjaw. I mean, but let's be honest. Street Sharks were just really cool because they were different. They took a spin of that, and they were like, we're going to do water animals on land, and then they're going to have these big old mouths, right? And the cool toys, right? They were just huge. I do want to address, because I threw it up there twice, Retro Rewind Pod, what about Silverhawks? Bro, I had Silverhawks on earlier. You must have checked out for a second. That was mine, and they all laughed at me. So, but yeah, Silverhawks. And Tiger says gargoyles is her, George. So, yeah. And Tiger.
I love that pick for you.
Tiger, your next pick is probably a Benjamin somewhere, too. So, with that being said, it is time for our Benjamins. Guys, if you don't know what Benjamin is, it's our second part of the show. It's how we end the show. It's all the ones that we think are honorable mention and should be mentioned that haven't been mentioned already. Now, with that being said, that is going to be a draft that's like fantasy style. So we can't mention all these, but there are a lot of huge bangers left. So don't go nowhere because I think you guys are putting some of those in the chat. Let's get it. All right, man. So we are at this. Now, here's the rules. Nothing that's been said can be mentioned. I can't believe we didn't crush on anything, but that's okay. There are a lot available. Especially in our time, Logan.
Definitely.
So you're up first. Whoever takes it can't take it again. So, Andy, are you ready?
Oh, yeah, I'm ready.
Let's
I got plenty. All
Logan,
right.
who is the #1 action cartoon that didn't get mentioned on our show today? Oh, by the way, it can be mentioned in the comments, just not mentioned by us.
Okay.
So, yeah. So if it was in the comments, don't worry about that. By us. So what is the #1 that we didn't say?
The Dungeons and Dragons cartoon.
Okay.
Yes, sir. That is definitely
It's
underrated.
so awesome. Yeah, underrated and awesome.
Underrated, and I love this pick. And I kind of had you pegged for this one, maybe at 4 spot. I didn't have you at the top, but I was like, because it's not the greatest.
It was close. It was always almost in there, man.
It was fun. I had you pegged at like 4. Yeah, this is good. And listen, I'm gonna go off a little bit of a beaten path here, Andy.
You already weren't off of a beaten path?
No.
What is this path? Why hasn't it been beaten yet?
I'm gonna continue with underrated.
Okay.
But I've got 2 or 3 that need to get mentioned today. And if they don't get mentioned, towards the end, I'm gonna have to jump off this ship. I have to jump off this ship.
All right.
So my next pick, I'm gonna go with another acronym. I'm going with COPS, Central Organization of Police Specialists. Bro,
Can't argue with that.
2 years, 65 episodes. It was another one that just really cool characters and really cool toys, and it was bad guys, good guys. They were all like android-ish mixed with robots. It was crazy. COPS.
Yeah, that was the show with Bad Boys, the theme song.
That was a little later, but yeah, okay.
All right. So The only reason I didn't put this one in my list is because I didn't want all my 4 to be ones that I mentioned before. Obviously, this deserves to be in there. We all just said it and laughed about it. It's Gargoyles, right?
Of course it
So
is.
Gargoyles is going to be my next one. Talk about a fantastic show. Talk about a show like when I was a kid, it kind of like scared me a little bit. Like, I mean, not like it wasn't like spooky, like jump scare, but it was like
It was just dark.
It was dark, right?
I love the story though, and I
Yeah,
love the art.
great story. I love the theme song is so epic to that one too. So I'm gonna go Gargoyles, and then my next one is probably the one that you said probably should get mentioned, Kirk. Your George of Cartoons. Let me do the Batman animated series. I mean, it is the standard to which we measure.
It is the greatest cartoon of all time.
Fantastic, right? It has to be mentioned today.
It's in the top 10, that's for sure.
It's my favorite, dude. I love it. Good intro, good characters, and listen, I'm more a Marvel guy than a DC guy.
Me too.
But that right there has the best voiced characters ever.
He's Batman.
He's Batman.
He's Batman.
There's
And
no
Mark
doubt.
Hamill's the Joker. So look, no question. All right, my next one. Thank you for taking that. So I can stay on my course.
Yeah.
I still have another couple that need to come in here though. I'm gonna go. I think I might have mentioned this one in the last one, but I'll mention it again because it's worth mentioning. It's for my video game bros. Captain N and the Game Master, which was a video game with Mega Man and Simon Belmont, Mother Brain. I love this cartoon. It ran for 3 seasons, but only 34 episodes. So NBC Saturday morning cartoon. He got sucked into the video games, Nintendo. If you're a Nintendo guy, gotta have it. Captain N and the Game Master.
Yeah. Nice pick. All right. Logan, we're back to you. You get back-to-back picks now.
Okay, well, I'm going to have to go with the cartoon I watched the most. It's my guilty pleasure, The Real Ghostbusters.
Oh, nice. Yeah, good
Yes!
one.
That show lasted a long time. They had some of the funniest and cool episodes of any show. It was a Deke series, but it was their best one as far as I'm concerned. Love Real Ghostbusters.
I am so happy you picked this because it was my next pick, but it allows me to put something else in here. Ghostbusters is amazing.
I just want to say, hey, real quick, Miss Rhonda is in the house.
Oh, hello, Rhonda.
Miss Rhonda. Hey, so Rhonda is Davey's mom. That's
that is Miss RetroCon right there.
Yeah, Miss RetroCon, Louisiana RetroCon. Welcome, Rhonda.
We love the
can't wait to hang out with you over in Morgan City in a few weeks. Right? So sweet.
Weeks?
Well, 2 months.
Months become weeks
months.
or made of weeks. So I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So look, you get back-to-back picks, Logan.
So the next one has got to be He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. It sucked me into cartoons all together.
Yeah, great one.
All right. So there's at least 2 more staples of the 80s that need to be mentioned. I'm going to leave them for you, Logan. Hopefully you pick them. All right.
I only got one more.
There's at least one more for sure. Gotta be.
I won't pick 80s, just so you know. So if you're wanting them to get picked, you might as well take one somewhere.
I still got one more pick after this.
Yeah, I know.
I'm gonna go with one that challenged. This is an underrated one. It challenged the one I'm trying to tell you about. But I'm going with the GoBots.
Oh yeah, GoBots.
And I'm gonna tell you, it was the makeshift of our other boys. But here's the deal: this was my morning cartoon getting ready for school. And it was followed by Sailor Moon. And I remember it on the USA Network. They played GoBots and Sailor Moon, and that was my hour of eating breakfast, getting ready for school every morning for like 2 years. Yep, GoBots.
Yeah.
And the toys are better. They're cheaper, but they're more iconic in my mind. When I started looking at them, gosh, I love them.
Yeah.
So,
all right.
Andy,
gosh, where do I go? So
I Logan.
Yeah, we do. Well, we have AI. We have AI, Logan. It's all good.
I just got my mom coming down. It's being cool. She's being really cool. She brought me something to eat.
Oh, hey, look. Come on now.
Sailor Moon does rock. Sailor Moon does rock. Yep.
So, man, where do I go here? I got so many on here to pick from. Is that because I'm the one living in the 90s, 2000s nostalgia? It's like none of mine are getting taken. So I guess what I'm going to do. Yeah, let's do this one. Okay, let's go. This was in 1993. We're going to stick with the anthropomorphic side of things. And we talked about this probably the other day, Kirk, maybe while we were at camp, we talked about this show, but Mark Hamill, again, give me SWAT Cats. SWAT Cats was a super cool show. Lots of action packed into that, but yeah, this
all right.
is
You're painting me into a box. I'm gonna have to jump out on this next one and let you pick.
You will, because definitely this one was nowhere on anyone's radar. And I just looked, and our Dave Mattingly commented on our post on Facebook and put this, and I was like, I was holding this one to the end because I did not think anyone else knew this one. But man, as a 90s, 2000s kid, give me Jackie Chan Adventures. That's a fun show. Jackie, when they had to get like the little medallions and like oh my gosh, that was such a cool show. And like the intro where he's running and then he turns into like real life Jackie Chan falling down. Like, dude, I loved Jackie Chan Adventures. And I didn't know anyone else knew it.
Andy, I'm totally disappointed in you. The one 90s cartoon, well, not the one, but one of the main ones you missed out. And we talked about it earlier, and you mentioned it at your Street Sharks. You've got to have Ninja Turtles on this list.
Yep.
100%. The best. Okay, here we go. The best intro song. The best.
Yes.
Right there.
It's debatable.
Yeah,
it's debatable, but it was my best intro song. It was my George, along with DuckTales, which I was joking about earlier. But you got to have Ninja Turtles. It's not underrated, but out of all the ones mentioned, it's the one still available that needs to be picked.
Look, Brendan's in the house. Speaking of camp, there's Brendan. I know we missed the Turtles.
Brendan on. Yeah, we already said X-Men already. Yep. Brendan.
Yes, it is the best intro, and I agree with you.
Now, here's the thing about X-Men's intro. Look, I digress. There was no words, so here's the thing. It's catchy, but you can't sing it. I
can sing it all day. You want to hear me sing it?
Literally,
sing it? I will sing it right now.
No, I don't want you to hum it. I don't want you to hum it.
It's so good.
Yeah, look, there you go, Berg. Exactly.
Okay, well, yeah.
I guess there's only one left, right?
Yeah, Darkwing Duck too. Tiger's bringing in Let's Get Dangerous. That is also an action cartoon, which was almost mentioned. But,
and I put it as my tagline.
Let's finish this show off. Logan, what is your the last cartoon that needs to be mentioned today before we head out?
Transformers.
No.
Thank you. List is perfect.
If it wasn't Turtles, it was Transformers. Those were the last two on my list.
Yes. Dude.
Yes.
Great pick. I'm so glad you picked that. Because I needed Ninja Turtles, Transformers, and Batman on this list somehow or another.
Yep.
And we got them. All right, man. So, fantastic list. I just want to say shout out. We got 15 people still hanging out with us. We do this every Friday night unless our guest host or ministry or something gets in the way. Our guest host, by the way, from the Hildt, he has an amazing show that runs on Fridays. And because of that, he jumped on over to do one on Thursdays. We'll do Thursday shows for those folks.
Appreciate that.
If you want to be on our show, we want you to be here. You're welcome to join us. We're welcome. We can have more than one person. We've done Andy's whole band, which was huge. I think we had 9 on the show at that time or something. But we are welcome in. So we're finishing off the next 2 months in nostalgia. And next week is Discontinued Snacks. And then we're doing 2 wrestling shows. We're doing Carnage Perez. He's doing Faces of Wrestling. We're doing Paul and the 619. He's doing Greatest Matches. And then we got Bayou Geek Collectibles, which is coming to do, and I'm trying to do this off of memory. He is doing, he is doing your top 4 favorite heroes of all time. So who are your childhood heroes? We have Feral Inferno, who is doing 90s nostalgia. So what makes 90s nostalgia? Anything that reminds you of the 90s. Some of these cartoons might show up. And then we're finishing off the series with our boy Spine Tick, Sith Lordly. He's coming on a very special Monday night edition because his show that runs on Saturday, but he's got a whole bunch of guys from Thursday to Saturday to follow. So it's not interfere with him. We're gonna do one on special on Monday, and because of that, we're gonna go and join our boy Real Life Perspective, right? And Real Life Perspective has a show that Friday or Saturday that we're gonna jump on. And Andy, that Friday we're doing Nickelodeon. Now, I know that's killing you right there. Then we're gonna jump into sports. So if you're a sports guy, we got sports. We got lots of friends that are coming to jump in. Brendan's going to be on the show. Dylan, you're absolutely invited. Paul's in the house. Haven't seen that dude in a minute. Paul is our leading champ of fantasy football for the Rushmore Show, and he has the most guest appearances next to Dennis and Dylan. So those guys are trying to compete. We need to get all those guys back on.
That's for Paul right there.
Yeah, Paul. He got a cool. That's from Booties, ain't it?
It is.
Booties is hopefully going to be on the show. Bert, we love to have you come back on the show. We just amazing time we've got it planned. So sports is next, and then before you guys head out, we're going to do food, anything food. That's to finish off the year. And I'm going to tell you right now, our January and February is loaded. I went to Siege, which is Southeast Gaming Exchange, which is in Greenville, South Carolina, the biggest East Coast video game convention every year. And I was able to connect with 9 or 10 of the best video game content creators right now in the game. And they're all said yes. All of them said yes. Retro Rob was in here. Mort's Garage is coming on. We've got Retro Gaming Pandemic that's talking about coming to join us. We've got Retro Card Collector, Picking Preacher. We've got Square Pegs. We've got, so many guys I connected with. They're all going to be on the show in January and February. And we can't wait. And then finishing it with movies and TV. And then back to, music, movies and TV, and back to nostalgia. So there's our list. So if you're here and it's your first time being here, we've got something for everybody. Go check the playlists out. In the playlist, I have them all divided up so you can go down. And we're almost to that 1K, and we're really chasing those hours. If you're a content creator, you know about chasing those hours. Help us out. Help a brother out watching them hours. With that being said, Logan, tell our friends what you've got coming up, what's going on your channels, what they can come and see, how to find you, all of that. Here's your chance, man. Get our Summit Squad to come over to your channel.
We're on YouTube at From the Hildt, Hildt. That's my author name, Christopher Hildt. Tonight I'm doing some Joe Takes Classics where I'm running some old episodes of my Joe Takes. I'm playing like 5 of them, and I'll be there live and in the chat for that. And then tomorrow night we're doing our 50th episode of Fridays from the Hildt, and Monday is our military action game. So we got some stuff coming up before we go on vacation, and there's no more.
Yeah, so From the Hildt, I already have it tagged in the description. You can go and find him, and guys, everybody in here should have a wrench. If Brendan, you probably don't have one yet, but I will send you one. With the wrench, you're allowed to be a moderator, and you can kind of, if you right click on your phone on everybody's names, it'll say follow the channel. You can go to their channel and follow them. Go and sub them, but don't just sub them. Go be a part of their community. Go say hello, write a comment. That's the thing. People always sub, and then you don't come back, and then we lose you. And then you don't see us in your algorithm, and you won't come and hang out again. Hit the bell if you really want to. That's cool. But Andy, what you got going on, man?
Quick update.
Mr. Zani's in the house.
We picked up 5 subs tonight. So way to go. 5 more to the Summit Squad there. We are now currently 62 subs out. 62 subs from that 1K. So we can make that happen.
Paul hasn't been on the live in so long. He hasn't been a moderator. Got to send him one. And Brendan, sending you one. You guys are now in there. Justin Banks in the house. I didn't see Justin, our PE teacher at school. What's up, JB? What's up, dude? I'll see you in a week or two. So there you go. Sending you guys all wrenches. So anything else, Andy, that you got to tell everybody?
Well, I cheated and I put all of the my ones that didn't even make the list in the comments, so you can check those out whenever you'd like to. Because I was just so excited. There were so many, for as little bit of research as I put into this, because of all the busyness. This was a super fun episode, man. So Logan, it was a blast to have you on. Look forward to joining you some more over on with you guys, and then just hopping on with us again for sure. So
thanks for having me. If you guys weren't on Fridays too, I'd probably watch you guys more. This has been great.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. Let me just share that real quick before we jump out. Talking with Sith and talking with Bert, they're kind of like, man, it's best not to overlap. Well, here's the thing. Before we joined those communities, we made that decision, and that's kind of where our community's at. But we always try and go back if we can to catch the replay, send a comment. Guys, if you ever show up, the best thing that you can do is just drop your top 4. So if you're out there and you see something, just leave us your top 4, and so that'll get the conversation going. We'll tell you if it's good, bad, or indifferent, and if you like ours, that's cool. But thanks for being here, Logan. You're always welcome. You're a part of the fam, and if you ever need us over on your channel, holler. So we're there, man.
We'll do.
All right. Well, hey, look, I think
Andy,
it's about time.
Tell our bros good night.
It's about time that we say good night, and we're going to say it like we always do. You guys know it in the Summit Squad. This is the Rushmore Show, where it's all about your top 4.
And there is no